Medaka Box's power system is one that is never really explained in the series proper, but through what is said and what we as readers can infer, the community has come to a rather unified consensus on the nature of abnormalities, minuses, styles, and the other facets of the Medaka Box power system. And although yes, I will be explaining the power system in this video, what I'm more aiming to do is to then explain how these different powers reflect the themes of the story and how they help to convey them throughout the story. If you find yourself entertained at any point during the video, then consider liking, subscribing and ringing that bell, as I cannot explain to you how much such a small action can do for this channel. And if you want to go the extra mile and support me even further, you can always check out my Patreon. Anyway, on with the video. In the world of Medaka Box, most people are normal. They have no powers, no special skills, and so they are called, rather shockingly, normals. Among these normals then are people who are special, people who have a natural predisposition for a particular skill, or are intelligent or adaptive enough to acquire skills with little effort. These are then called specials. However, in an even smaller minority than specials, you have the abnormals. Abnormals are extremely gifted humans. Their base stats in terms of intelligence, problem solving and physical abilities are above both normals and specials, with them being able to easily roll a 6 on a die, or always get the best hand in cards, or even guess a 6-digit password first try. They are abnormal in all senses of the word, but more so than all this, abnormals also each possess a special skill known as their abnormality. In most cases, these abnormalities affect the abnormal themselves in some way, such as how autopilot gives Takachiho automatic reflexes, or how fairness makes Chojibaru completely fair. They affect the individual, not the environment, in most cases at least. And in my opinion, abnormalities are as such a representation of one's nature. After all, they are someone's natural ability, not influenced by upbringing or surroundings. They are down to one's genetics. As such, they usually reflect the person's character or personality, as well as their nature. It is them. Abnormalities usually manifest in an abnormal around puberty or as a young child, but in rare cases like Medaka, the abnormal among abnormals, this abnormality could be present from the moment of birth. Abnormalities do seem to vanish after reaching adulthood, but this is something I will properly explore a little later in the video. So overall, abnormals are extremely gifted individuals who have special unique powers granted to them not by training or their surroundings, but due to their natural abilities. In essence, abnormalities are just your nature personified. And so if abnormals stand above all other humans as the pinnacle of human ability, then the minuses stand below all other humans looking up. That is because unlike abnormals who are blessed with immense skill and luck, minuses are the opposite. They are unlucky, and no matter how hard they try, they never get results. They are always losers. Unlike abnormalities, which are one's nature, minuses are one's nurture, as someone isn't born as a minus, instead someone becomes a minus due to trauma and hardship. In essence, they are born from one's surroundings, from one's nurture. For example, Chugasaki pushed away and ignored his childhood trauma, and so gained the minus encounter, which allows him to push away damage onto someone else. Or more obviously, Kumagawa's bookmaker, which allows him to force people down to the same level as him by making his opponent match him in every way. This was born out of his own belief that he would never win and is a true loser, so his minus levels the playing field so that it becomes a battle of willpower and nothing more, so any loss he has is a fair loss and not one brought around due to some cosmic force that makes Kumagawa always lose. Minuses due to being born from the negative experiences one goes through, the bad parts of your nurture, are often more twisted than abnormalities and seem to grow in power with the further deterioration of the user's mind. Unlike abnormalities, they affect not the person themselves but the environment, such as Bookmaker targeting Kumagawa's opponent or Scardead opening the wounds of others. This is because they are powers born from one's surroundings, so affect the same surroundings that birthed them. Almost like they are a manifestation of the user's own psyche, lashing out at the world and the surroundings that turn them into a minus. And since they are not natural like abnormalities, they tend to have more extreme effects and often break or challenge the laws of physics, as well they simply aren't natural. Therefore, the dichotomy I'm sure you have already worked out is the idea of nature versus nurture, or abnormalities versus minuses. One is natural, coming from your own nature, your own biology, and affects your own body. The other is unnatural, coming from your nurture, your surroundings, and affects the surroundings. They are polar opposites. But what about people who don't even land on the scale? Well, those are the not equals. Abnormals believe themselves to be above people, minuses believe themselves to be below people, and not equals can't be comprehended by people. And well, considering the only two true not equals in the series are both basically gods, I think you can understand what I mean. They can't be compared to humans, they aren't equal to any humans, be they normal, special, abnormal or minus. And unlike abnormals and minuses, they can have either abnormalities or minuses, such as Najimi, who has 7,932,135,441,523,222 abnormalities, and 4,925,916,526,110,643 minuses, for a total of 12,858,051,967,630,865 skills. These of course being Alibi Block, Count Up, Deadlock, Door 2, Give Up Down, 100 Gauntlets, Lip Service, Life Zero, Mirror Juvenile, Standing Ovation, Dead or I Love You, High Blade Revolver, Kill Lock, Life Scars, Limited Foot, Receptor, Prize Goal, Prison, Critical 5, Illegal, Physical Defrag, Slice Knuckle, Alcohol Sand, Gemini Impression, 9, Pluto, Nitrogen Breath, Ouroboros Connect, Play Smoke, Prime Foot, Wise Man Collection, Winter Generalist, Swamp Girl, Antique, Sun Sloshing, Friendly Neighborhood Green, General Propaganda, Killer Be Quiet, Ocean Deja Vu, Paper Driver, Old Cold Whip, Boy Meets, Designer Drug, Giraffe Neck, Octopus Dinner, Turtle Tree Wheels, Holding My Daughter, Left Head. Though our other true not equal, Hatton, has only one skill, though as a skill that creates other skills, it is quite a powerful skill, not affecting oneself like an abnormality or the environment like a minus, but instead creating something entirely new, something completely detached from these two other power systems, like how not equals are completely detached from regular humans. There are a few other characters that identify themselves as non-equals, mainly the candidate student council, but they don't show any abilities of their own that could really be called abnormalities or minuses. And these three are the main power types in the series, or as they refer to in the series, the three mentalities. However, there is one other main unrelated power system in the series, that being styles. Now styles are a bit different from the other powers we've talked about, as they are more akin to a learnable skill, being artificially created by Professor Fukuro Tsurabami in order to counter the skills known as abnormalities and minuses. They are techniques that rely on empathy and the power of communication, conveying meaning through words like a language, hence why the users of the styles are called language users. And technically, since styles use vibrations, user being patterns, a user can transfer their style temporarily to someone else by holding their hands and transferring the vibrations, though this will fade over time. Now these styles being deeply tied to communication have powers relating to language. Now Manny's contradictory conjunction style, for example, can make the impossible possible using the word therefore, and can make the lowest possible outcome of a situation come to be. These powers break the rules of reality pretty severely, in the same way as a minus, but since they rely on human language to function, they are only really effective against those who can understand what is being said. In essence, they are a human language that can only be used against other humans. Since styles were created, they act more as a weapon against the natural powers of the Medaka Box world, and so don't fall along the spectrum of above or below humanity, and instead stand beside it as a counter to all, as all humans can communicate. Okay, so now let's talk about thematics. I've already explained that abnormalities and minuses reference the idea of nature versus nurture, which is a prominent theme throughout the series, especially relating to Medaka, and so I won't go over it again, don't worry. However, one thing I will mention is the idea of these powers also being representative of personal growth, as during the final time skip we see that most of the cast have lost their abilities, and I think this is because they grew up. Your nature and nurture are what morph you into your adult self, and since abnormalities and minuses are just personifications of these things, once you have grown up they aren't needed anymore, as you have in a way reached your final form. Only those characters still growing and developing retain them into adulthood, meaning I guess this could all be a metaphor for puberty as well, which does line up with all this, as well puberty is when you mature into your adult self, they are your formative years. Now styles, apart from being a stupidly ingenious power system that has Nietzschean written all over it, they are also thematically important in the characterization, or should I say the criticism, of Medaka's character, as although she is presented as a perfect goddess, rather intentionally, throughout the story, there are always moments when we are shown that she isn't perfect, or more accurately, she is too perfect. She is the ultimate life form, and is an abnormal among abnormals, but as a result, she stands so high above humanity, so distant, that she stops being human and becomes something else, a goddess. And that's why styles are the one thing Medaka can't ever master, let alone use, as styles are used to convey feelings to one another through words. Her music was perfect on a technical level, but was so devoid of soul or passion it just sounded like sound. And that's the same as styles, they are a power system that involves the heart and meaning, something Medaka just can't do. Ahiko was a person so strong that abnormalities and minuses just didn't really work on him. He didn't recognise them, so they had no effect. Therefore, using styles, he could be communicated with and could be made to understand, and so could be damaged. Styles then act as both the biggest obstacle to a goddess and the only solution to beating the strongest hero. They then reflect neither nature or nurture, but the ability of humans to communicate. No matter how hard you try, you can never get an animal, a being detached from humanity, to understand your feelings completely. And no matter who someone is, if they can understand you, then eventually they can be reasoned with. And that is where good old Zenitsu comes into it. As not an abnormal, not a minus, not even a not equal, but a zero. As the middle ground between a plus and abnormal and a minus is zero. Absolute zero. The most average of all numbers, bang in the centre. The most normal of all normals. And with styles, he gets across feelings to Hiko and defeats him. He does something Medaka couldn't, because unlike her, he could communicate. Nature and nurture are important, yes, but communication is what makes humans humans. It's what allows us to work together and to defeat even the strongest of foes. So is the overall message of Medaka Box that your nature and nurture don't matter, only your ability to communicate? Probably not. More likely, I think Nishirishin was showcasing the different facets of humanity through the various power systems of the series, and how each has their merits and each has their flaws. We as people are shaped by our nature and our nurture, but using our ability to communicate, we can then go on to shape the world itself. At least that is my interpretation of the Medaka Box power system. So if you have any other interpretations of these power systems, put them in the comments down below, because I'd love to hear what everyone else thinks. Comment of the week comes from M. Cruz, and what can I say except wow, this comment was just incredible. If you are interested in my literary endeavours, why not check out my books Gang Fluid Justice and People of Fate Volume 1, available at Amazon.com. And if you want to help support this channel even further, then consider pledging to my Patreon, where for as little as £2.75 a month, you can get your name at the end of the video like Hikari Desu, 7SO and Smokey McBobby. So with all that said and done, I've been Seth the Sin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I'm signing out. Stay safe, everyone.